Jordan Shefty. I hope you are having a great start to your weekend, but I know you want to know about your weather so that you can plan the rest of it. So let's get right over to meteorologist Tanner Swift. Good morning, Tanner. New this morning, a man is in critical condition following a stabbing in northwest Wichita early this morning. Police were sent just after 3 to the 2000 block of North Woodland, which is in a neighborhood southwest of 21st and Waco.
The individual was found with severe stab wounds to his abdomen. He was taken to St. Francis Hospital in critical condition and taken into surgery.
Sergeant Swanson believes the victim is in his late 30s or early 40s. Police are still trying to figure out what led to the stabbing. They do not have any suspects so far. And also new this morning, a 22-year-old man is killed in a crash just north of Winfield. It happened at K-15 and US 77 last night around 9:30. According to the Kansas Highway Patrol, 22-year-old John Sepp of Wellington ran a stop sign hitting the back of a grain hauler. He died at the scene. The driver of the other vehicle was not injured. And Wichita firefighters called to a West Wichita home overnight. People and puppies escaped unharmed. The fire was reported at about 11:30 in the 300 block of South Osage. Would you look at that? How cute. Firefighters were able to put the fire out in just a matter of minutes.
Heavy smoke coming out of the second floor, and then we kind of had an idea where the seat of the fire was going to be at when we got here, so we got in, got to the second floor, pulled ceilings, found the fire, and got it knocked down.
Captain Holman said the residents of the home got out of the house before crews arrived. Firefighters rescued some of the puppies from the home. Investigators have not determined the cause. Westar Energy says most customers without electricity should be restored by tonight, but the utility company acknowledges some might not get power until Monday. This morning, there are about 10,000 customers still without power in Sedgwick County. Westar Energy spokesman Nick Bundy says there are about 30 line crews on the job, with more from out of the area arriving. Westar encouraging everyone to stay away from broken utility poles and downed lines.
You don't know if that branch up there is going to continue holding that up. So certainly this is a hazard.
Bundy says if the electric service line from the utility pole to the house is down, it's up to the homeowner to get that reconnected to the house. And of course, businesses have been affected by the power outages too. Cake's Phil White spoke with some Wichita business owners who found a way to remain open despite having no electricity.
They had it all worked out. It seemed like they had a contingency plan for it.
This Tractor Supply Company store on West Kellogg remained without power all day. With a generator running the cash register and employees helping customers by flashlight, Tractor Supply opened and saw quite a bit of demand for chainsaws, generators, and other storm cleanup related items.
They were really helpful. They were waiting for me with a flashlight, so took me back there and had no problem.
Ryan did not expect the store to be open when he pulled up.
I almost turned around. I saw that the lights were all out, and then the older gentleman was motioning for me to come in, so that's service.
This U-Haul center near Pawnee and Seneca was another business that worked around its power outage.
We got power from the shop next door, so we have our computers working, but yeah, it's been a pain. It's not been fun.
Despite the inconvenience, Wolfenbarger says being closed was not an option.
Everyone's still needing to move and needing trucks and equipment, so it's like we can't really just close down because people already have the trucks and they need to bring them back, get their change back, they need to move, they need to get out of their apartments.
Even without lights or air conditioning, U-Haul saw a steady stream of customers throughout the day.
Everyone's been real understanding though. No one's really had to, they understand the power's out, so they got to wait a little longer or whatnot.
As utility crews worked around the corner from the Tractor Supply store, shoppers had plenty of praise for their work.
Hats off to the guys working on the Highline poles. That's electricity.
The U-Haul Center representative says Westar has told them they're hoping to also have power restored there by late today. Some businesses like restaurants are not able to be open without power. And city crews are only cleaning up public property around Wichita. The city says damage is widespread and their resources are tied up removing debris from public streets and right-of-ways. So they will not be picking up downed trees or debris from private property owners. You can make arrangements with trash trash haulers or take debris to one of 4 disposal sites for a fee. There's a list on cake.com. Just click on the story. And people in Hayesville have a lot of cleanup ahead of them as they recover from Thursday night's storm. The town south of Wichita was one of the hardest hit areas. Down tree lines nearly every street in town. Other homes have roof damage, windows shattered, and vehicle damage. Neighbors say they're still in a bit of shock.
Cleanup and time to recover from the shock and all the different things that have to happen. It's a lot more intense than I think people would realize. You know, I know it is for me.
Hayesville leaders say beginning Monday, city crews will pick up debris people have been able to pile on the curbs. And strong winds caused a chain reaction Thursday night that brought down 17 power poles along 79th Street near Hayesville. Westar leaders say several power poles snapped in half, causing a domino effect that brought the others down. We're told until the new poles and new equipment have been installed, the people receiving service directly from those lines will not have power. A Shawnee County District judge has put parts of the state's new abortion law on hold. This temporarily blocks provisions of the law that change the definition of what a medical emergency is and requires abortion providers to post a statement on their website saying the state's materials on abortion are accurate. 2 men have joined a former football star in custody in a man's shooting death. Authorities say the 2 men were in the car with former New England Patriot Aaron Hernandez at the time of the shooting. One of the 2 men is charged with illegally carrying a gun, and the other is accused of being an accessory after murder. Prosecutors had already charged Hernandez with murder. A funeral will be held later today for the victim, Odin Lloyd. Former Vice Chairman of the Joint Chief of Staff, retired Marine General James Cartwright, is under investigation for allegedly leaking classified information about a covert cyber attack on Iran's nuclear facilities. A source tells ABC News the information was included in a book by New York Times correspondent David Sanger. Testimony is over until Monday in the second-degree murder trial of George Zimmerman. Yesterday, neighbors who witnessed parts of his struggle with Trayvon Martin took the stand as the jury tries to determine who was the true aggressor that night. Lana Zach has the latest in this explosive trial.
Can you tell us
George Zimmerman's injuries were on display for the court.
Again, an abrasion consistent with that head being hit on concrete?
It can be consistent with that, yes.
Lindsay Folgate treated Zimmerman a day after the shooting. She said his nose appeared broken, but the cuts on his head did not require stitches.
For the most part, they required cleaning to the area.
Another dent in the story that Zimmerman's life was in danger from Trayvon Martin banging his head against concrete. Neighbor Jonathan Good was one of the closest eyewitnesses.
Did you ever see the person on top pick the person from the bottom and actually slam them into the concrete?
No.
Did you ever see the person on top slamming the person on the bottom's head on the concrete over and over and over?
No.
Did you see at any time the person on top grab the person on the bottom's head and slam it into the concrete?
No.
Good did strengthen the defense's position, saying he believed he saw the teen on top of Zimmerman.
And he was the one who was raining blows down on the person on the bottom, George Zimmerman, right?
That's what it looked like.
Also on the stand, a third neighbor who took these photos of Zimmerman's bloody head and Martin's body. Zimmerman asked him to call his wife.
Kind of cut me off and he says, "Just tell her I shot someone."
Zimmerman is charged with just 1 count of second-degree murder, but it is possible that the jury could be allowed to convict on a lesser charge, like manslaughter. Lana Zach, ABC News, New York.
The lead plaintiffs in the United States Supreme Court case that overturned California's same-sex marriage ban tied the knot yesterday. Weddings happened just hours after federal appeals court freed gay couples to obtain marriage licenses in the state for the first time in 4.5 years.
We have waited a long time for this day. Chris and I fell in love 14 years ago, and we knew that our relationship would last and our family would last, and we wanted our love to last and to be dignified by the institution of marriage.
The mayor says same-sex couples can wed all weekend. President Obama is in South Africa this morning, and he's meeting with Nelson Mandela's family. The latest on his trip coming up. And next, violence in Egypt as protesters clash with law enforcement. The latest from Cairo coming up. Good Saturday morning. It is 8:14, 69 degrees currently. Egyptians are preparing for the worst as the streets once again fill with protesters, and the State Department has identified an American killed in the violent clashes. Spokesman says Andrew Proctor was killed Friday in Alexandria. The department has issued a warning advising Americans to defer non-essential travel to Egypt because of the continuing violence there. The protesters are eager to oust Egyptian President Mohamed Morsi, while Islamists are determined to keep him in power. And President Barack Obama and the First Lady are meeting privately with members of Nelson Mandela's family. 94-year-old Mandela has been in the hospital for 3 weeks with a recurring lung infection. The White House says the Obamas will not see Mandela in the hospital. Some South Africans are weighing in on the president's visit.
I think Obama should come and visit Madiba because Madiba and Obama also share almost the same history. Obama was the first black president in America, and Madiba also was the first black president in South Africa. And also I think he should come and visit Madiba because it will lift Madiba's spirit.
During his week-long trip to South Africa, President Obama will also be addressing some of the youth in an effort to engage Africa's future. And 3 people have been found dead in the wreckage of a small plane crash in Alaska. The Federal Aviation Administration says that the twin-engine Beechcraft BE-55 crashed near the Summit Airport Friday morning. It was en route from Fairbanks International Airport to Homer. The cause of the crash is under investigation. And we've got a cooler start to your morning. Let's head over to meteorologist Tanner Swift to find out if it's going to heat up throughout the day. Good morning, Tanner. Time this morning is 8:17. Coming up, the Las Vegas area expecting record temperatures this weekend. Find out just how hot it's supposed to get. All right, so at least a little bit cooler for those still without power.
Yeah, that's certainly some welcome relief there. The air conditioning, is out and it's awful toasty. And, usually we get, about this time of year it starts getting hot, and then it's hot and it doesn't rain for about 3 months.
Right.
So this is a welcome break from the heat. We usually don't see this.
Right, absolutely. And it'll be perfect weather for those out cleaning up all their limbs.
Yeah, not too bad. I don't know if you've stepped outside this morning. I stepped outside between shows. It's gorgeous. I mean, it doesn't feel humid. It's just nice.
Really nice. Get a tan while you're out working in the yard.
That's right.
Perfect. Thank you, Tanner. Well, while we're getting a slight cool down, many parts of the country are dealing with extreme weather this weekend, including flooding in Colorado that led to a late night rescue. We'll have details next. Good morning. It is 8:27, currently 69 degrees outside. Just a beautiful day. Get out there and enjoy it, but not so nice in other parts of the country. A fast-moving thunderstorm dumped lots of rain in Colorado Springs, flooding the streets. Firefighters rescued 2 people trapped in a submerged car last night. Thankfully, no one was injured. And the heat wave across the Southwest has emergency crews on alert and people looking for ways to beat the heat. Get this, Phoenix and Las Vegas could see highs of 120 degrees today. Wow. Airlines are keeping a close watch because such extreme heat can affect how planes behave, especially on takeoff. And people are being reminded to stay cool and stay hydrated.
A bit worried about the heat, trying to stay hydrated, drinking a lot of water.
Authorities say there were no reports of life-threatening injuries after 200 people were treated for heat problems in Las Vegas. And check this out. It was so hot in Arizona yesterday, bobcats sought refuge under this man's tree. Oh my. Dale Baker could not believe his eyes An entire family of bobcats were right in his front yard. I think I'd be a little scared too. Experts warned the man not to feed them or give them water. And we're not done yet. There is still 30 minutes of news ahead this morning. Coming up, we've got an update on the thousands still without power after Thursday's windstorm. And next, a man is critically injured after being stabbed in West Wichita. Details on what we know coming up this morning.
You're watching Cakeland. This is Cake News.
Crews continue working to restore power to those left in the dark after a damaging windstorm. Good morning, I'm Jordan Shefty. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. Now, I hope your weekend's off to a great start, but I know you want to know about your weather, so let's get right over to meteorologist Tanner Swift. Good morning, Tanner.
Well, good morning, Jordan. Good morning to the rest of you. The weekend is starting off on a pretty quiet note for most of us. We have been tracking just a few light showers and thunderstorms moving through portions of western Kansas, and they continue to dry up as they continue to work their way off toward the south and the east. And I think over the next couple hours, we're not going to have to really deal with these much more as we zoom in just a little bit, just a little thunder shower over toward Ness City and maybe a few sprinkles down through the Larned area, and then also a few sprinkles down through the Pratt area. Again, this area continues to slowly dry up as we've gone through the morning hours, and I think that's going to continue. A look at the temperatures outside right now. A fairly mild start to the day. 73 Salina and in Hutch. 74 right now in Wichita. Temperatures in the 60s out in portions of western Kansas. Here's a look at our day planner here in Wichita. Lots of sunshine as we head through the day. Less humidity than what we've seen in the last couple of days. 83 in noontime temperature with a north wind at about 10 to 20 miles per hour. Look for a 3 p.m. temperature right around 89. So it will be another warm day. I think we're going to top out here around 90 degrees here in Wichita, but much cooler temperatures as we head into the second half of the weekend. We're going to shave off about 8 to 10 degrees from our high temperatures today for Sunday, and it looks like those cool temperatures are going to stick around with us for the next couple of days. We'll give you a complete look at the forecast coming up in just a few minutes.
All right, thank you, Tanner. New this morning, a man is in critical condition following a stabbing in northwest Wichita. Police were sent just after 3 to the 2000 block of North Woodland, which is in a neighborhood southwest of 21st and Waco.
The individual was found with severe stab wounds to his abdomen. He was taken to St. Francis Hospital in critical condition and taken into surgery.
Sergeant Swanson believes the victim is in his late 30s or early 40s. Police are still trying to figure out what led to the stabbing. They do not have any suspects so far. And also new this morning, a 22-year-old man is killed in a crash just north of Winfield. It happened at K-15 and US 77 last night around 9:30. According to the Kansas Highway Patrol, 22-year-old John Sapp of Wellington ran a stop sign hitting the back of a grain hauler. He died at the scene. The driver of the other vehicle was not injured. And Wichita firefighters called to a West Wichita home overnight. People and puppies escaped unharmed. The fire was reported at about 11:30 in the 300 block of South Osage. Look at that. How cute. Firefighters were able to put the fire out in just a matter of minutes.
Heavy smoke coming out of the second floor, and then we kind of had an idea where the seat of the fire was going to be at when we got here, so we got in, got to the second floor, pulled ceilings, found the fire, and got it knocked down.
Captain Holman said the residents of the home got out of the house before crews arrived. Firefighters rescued some puppies from the home. Investigators have not determined the cause. Now, Westar Energy is saying most customers without electricity should be restored by tonight, but the utility acknowledges some might not get power until Monday. This morning, Westar reporting about 10,000 customers still without power. Westar Energy spokesman Nick Bundy says there are about 30 line crews on the job, with more from out of the area arriving. City crews are only cleaning up public property around Wichita. The city says damage is widespread and their resources are tied up removing debris from public streets and right-of-ways, so they will not be picking up downed trees or debris from private property owners.
It is a widespread area. The difficulty of addressing the waste that would come out of the private property, we think, is something that at this point appears to us to be manageable by the individual citizens.
People can make arrangements with trash haulers or take debris to one of 4 disposal sites for a fee. There's a list on cake.com. Just click on this story. Now, the city of Hayesville took a major hit in Thursday night's windstorm. Cake's Jason Tarr spent the day in Hayesville, where residents were cleaning up some of the heaviest damage in the area.
You'll see a lot of this driving up and down the streets here in Hayesville. Piles of big branches like this out in front of homes. What makes this situation a little bit unique is that underneath all of these branches is actually a car that has been totaled.
Front windows smashed. The body panels are pushed out, and the roof is caved in. The back
Lee Crawford says his daughter, a nurse, watched as the wind hurled one tree limb after another at her car.
She was devastated. You know, that's her life.
Also heavily damaged, the family's roof and their camper.
And you can see the tree branch starts there, but it goes all the way to the ground.
This, the pile of branches Crawford has already removed from his front yard.
Try to recover, get the mess out of the way, and see what damage is actually there.
His neighbors are doing the same. Chainsaws buzzing as they clear away the branches. The cleanup will be tougher for some than others. Mike Beto had a tree limb puncture a hole in his roof.
Punctured the inside of the ceiling, the drywall, and it started leaking water real bad.
And Brent Carlson now has an entire tree on his house.
Trying to find humor in it, just cope.
But the Crawfords say they're optimistic. Neighbors are helping each other, and the city has said it will come by and collect debris.
I think we'll pull through. We have a real strong neighborhood.
In Hayesville, Jason Tarr, Cake News.
Now, despite the widespread power outages, some businesses are opening their doors. This U-Haul center near Pawnee and Seneca was without power all day yesterday, but a shop next door had power, so the business was able to borrow enough to get by.
We're so used to relying on the computers that it's hard doing the old way, just like having to write everything out and that sort of thing.
A Tractor Supply Company store on West Kellogg was also open, using a generator to run the cash register. Employees helped customers buy flashlight. A Shawnee County District judge has put parts of the state's new abortion law on hold. This temporarily blocks provisions of the law that change the definition of what a medical emergency is and requires abortion providers to post a statement on their websites saying the state's materials on abortion are accurate. 2 men have joined a former football star in custody in a man's shooting death. Authorities say the 2 men were in the car with former New England Patriot Aaron Hernandez at the time of the shooting. One of the 2 men is charged with illegally carrying a gun, and the other is accused of being an accessory after murder. Prosecutors had already charged Hernandez with murder. Today, a funeral will be held for the victim, Odin Lloyd. Marriages in the wake of this week's U.S. Supreme Court ruling have begun, and 2 of the plaintiffs in that case have wasted no time in tasting victory. Chuck Sievertson has the story.
Do you, Chris, take Sandy?
It was a vow a long time coming.
I do.
Just 2 days after the U.S. Supreme Court effectively ended a California ban on same-sex marriage.
With this ring, I thee wed.
The 2 plaintiffs in the case tied the knot.
I now declare you spouses for life.
Sandy Steer and Chris Perry have been together 14 years, and they are the first same-sex couple to marry in California since the court's ruling.
What we wanted so desperately was for our own sons to know that we love them and each other enough to fight to be married, which now we are, and other families out there in similar circumstances, you should fight to be married too.
And we're going to dance the night away with those boys, and we cannot wait.
While California opponents of same-sex marriage blasted the resumption of nuptials, the newlyweds urged others to follow their example.
We will come and we will fight with you because we love your children, we love your family, and we think we all deserve to have this. Kids can grow up feeling like their family is just as good as everybody else's family.
Hundreds of other same-sex couples were behind them in San Francisco City Hall, waiting to exchange vows. Chuck Sievertson, ABC News, New York.
All right, that brings us to 8:41. Coming up, moms throwing their babies in water? Sounds crazy, but the babies have a skill that many others their age do not. That story coming up. Collapsible cloth laundry hampers may pose a risk to your children. This is an I-Team consumer alert. Researchers say 2 kids were hospitalized after being poked in the eye by the wire in the collapsible hamper. In both cases, the cloth was frayed and exposed the wire, which snapped back and caught the children in the eye.
If you have one of these hampers at home that's collapsible, take a look at it. Make sure that the fabric isn't frayed. Make sure there's no wire protruding out that could injure your child.
Researchers want parents to inspect their collapsible hampers to decrease or even eliminate the risk. All right, now here's one for you. Mothers tossing their babies into the water. I know it sounds crazy, but in Jacksonville, Florida, some babies have a skill that's rare at their age.
Would your child know what to do if he fell in the pool? This 7-month-old does. He knows how to roll on his back and save himself.
Most children take better to the water environment if they're taught at an earlier age.
Infant Swim Resource is a program that starts kids as young as 6 months in the pool learning how to float. Amber Lee Hewitt took the class almost 30 years ago, and now her daughter Lawson is enrolled.
She actually fell in yesterday in the deep end. We were watching her and we kind of let her do it to see what would happen, and she rolled right over and started floating and swam to the side.
Jennifer McGarity signed her kids up after her son had a near-death experience.
My second child, Connor, actually had an accident in the pool with a babysitter. We took all the precautions. We had a pool fence, there was adult supervision, but it only takes a split second.
Her daughter Bella is 11 months old and has been taking the class just for a few days. She's already floating on her back.
And the children actually, she loves it. She enjoys it. It may not start like that because it's different in the beginning.
I always kind of tease my new moms. If the child is coming to me at a very young age, it's usually harder initially on the parent than it is on the child.
More than 250,000 students have taken this class. It's saved more than 800 lives. And here in Jacksonville, there are more than 20 ISR instructors, and you can find more information on infantswim.com. In Jacksonville, Lindsay Boach, First Coast News, NBC 12 and ABC 25.
Makes me cringe watching them toss them into the water. A little scary, but hey, they're learning how to swim, so that's a good thing, right? All right, your time this morning is 8:47. We'll be right back. All right, just a small cool down, but at least a cool down, right?
That is a huge cool down. I mean, this is, especially the last couple of summers, we'll take this. This is beautiful.
All right, thank you, Tanner. We'll be right back. All right, we've got a beautiful Saturday in store.
Yeah, it is a very nice start to the weekend. We do have just a couple of widely scattered showers out in western Kansas that continue to dry up as we take a look at KAKE's first alert. Doppler HD around Nest City, down through the Pratt area, really starting to not to amount to much more than a few sprinkles out there. Here's a look at our day planner for Wichita. Lots of sunshine as we head through the day. 89 for a 3 p.m. temperature. High today right around 90 degrees. We're all going to be down into the 80s as we head into tomorrow, and those 80s are going to stick around for several days.
Love it. Nice relief. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Have a great weekend.